first, and this was done in the 1950s, and it was actually done by my company's predecessor, Litchfield Coal Company, trying to extend a play from Kentucky where the Devonian Shale is productive. They came and drilled about 80 wells in Virginia in the 50s, and to be quite honest with you, they lost money. It was not successful as a whole. Individual wells were good, but the 80 wells as a package were not. Then in the 1970s, Equitable came and leased the property from Pittston Coal Company and began drilling wells to this horizon here. Well, lo and behold, that's above the shale. All those 80 wells were drilled through that zone. But because of different thinking and applying new technologies, and at that time it was cementing and fracking. Equitable came in the 70s and began developing these zones above the shale. It was productive in that time. Then in the 1990s, 20 years later, at that point we probably drilled 400 of these wells through all these coals. We never really thought about them being prospective. But in the 1990s, with sort of the advent of people looking at coal bed methane with the DOE credits, we began looking at the coals in here and began producing those. And now 80% of Virginia's gas production comes from those. So another success here. Well, what are we doing now? Now we're going back down to that shale that we couldn't make productive in these vertical wells. We're drilling horizontally, we're fracture stimulating this shale, and we've drilled about 25 of these now as an industry. It's been successful. So it's just, you know, new thinking is what it's all about, and trying things that you know, you haven't tried before. To give you a little background on our natural gas production here in Virginia, all of the gas that's produced out of our Commonwealth comes from Southwest Virginia, and it's produced from those 7 counties. There's no other gas production, to my knowledge, anywhere else in the state currently. This is just a histogram showing the growth of our production over time. Currently, we're at another record level, 128 BCF per year. If you recall, on the Barnett Shale slide, that's about where they were starting, 130 BCF. Do we have the potential to grow Southwest Virginia like the Barnett? There's a lot of potential. I think it's a very exciting time to be in the industry in Virginia. And what I really like to see with this curve, and what we typically sort of look for is, you know, how is this growth going? And here you can see we're still going up pretty dramatically. At some point, place starts to mature and you start to flatten out and then get back down to sort of a bell-shaped curve. We're still on the upswing. I think we've got a lot of potential left in the state. Coal bed methane, I talked a little bit about it. Again, most of the exploration has been since the 1990s, and in that time now it accounts for 80% of our gas. Virginia ranks 5th out of 20-some states that produce coal bed methane, and we'll probably overtake 4th here in a year or so. EIA, which is the Energy Information Agency, is part of DOE, which keeps all the statistics on all the energy sources, ranks the Oakwood Field and the Northfield, which are these 2 fields right here, as the 23rd and 53rd largest gas fields in the country. This includes offshore and includes Alaska. And if we combine those two, which effectively they are in the field, we think it would be somewhere in the top 10. So pretty impressive, really. This is sort of the new technology, or one of the new technologies that I was talking about. And you sit there and go, how do you do that? Because if you've ever been on a drilling rig, that pipe is pretty rigid. How do you turn it horizontally? And literally we do this. We drill down, and then over a 600-foot interval, we go from vertical to a horizontal. And I guess the only way I can tell you to think about it is if you put 600 feet of that pipe together and try to pick one end of it with up if you could, I mean, it would bend like this. One piece of it's going to be very rigid. We have motors that actually turn the bit sideways. There's a lot of steering that goes on. These are very expensive wells to drill, as you can imagine, just because we're on these for quite a while. We have to have a lot of very specialized equipment out there. But We've done about 25 of these here in Virginia, and we're pretty excited about what we're seeing. There are many benefits to this drilling. One is, in theory, we can replace maybe 3 vertical wells, which is good for us, and it saves us money. It's good for the surface owner because there's less disturbance. It's good hopefully for the coal companies. We aren't going to the coal as many times. And we can drill in areas that are sensitive and topographical, difficult to get to. But when we do this, we form a much larger unit. Well, unit is actually 320 acres, and so all of the owners who own in this lateral get paid proportionally. I mean, you don't drill underneath someone else's land. State, we work with them very closely on developing the units for horizontal drilling. Certainly from the drilling side, we bring a lot of financial benefits to Virginia. We spent about $300 million last year alone in drilling, completions, pipeline projects, compression, all of that. We create about 3,000 jobs here in the state, with probably 80% of those are here in Southwest Virginia. And last year, in a one-year period, this is over a one-year period, we paid about $20 million in severance. And all of that comes back to the producing counties, which is a good thing. And we pay about 85, or last year we paid about $85 million in royalties. Again, there's huge effects of the trickle-down economy with these dollars that are feeding the rest of people Southwest Virginia. So let's talk a little bit, we talked about the production side, let's talk about gas usage. Right now, we, Virginia, consume about 310 BCF of gas. If you remember, we were producing 128. So we are clearly a net importer of natural gas. And all of that, of course, or the vast majority of it, is coming from the United States, but we would love to be self-sufficient on what we do. Again, I talked about the hurricanes in the Gulf that might potentially take platforms out. So the more we can produce here from the state, the better. We're closing the gap a little bit. Back about 5 years ago, we were about 31% of production to consumption. Now we think that's going up as an estimate, but we think it's up over 40%. So we're going the right way. We need to continue to develop our great resources in Virginia. So how does all this gas get to wherever it's going? I mean, you don't see a tanker going down the road with gas, it's natural gas. All of the gas that we produce right here in this area in Southwest Virginia, where we are right now, is transported through a series of pretty intricate pipelines. And all of these pipelines are below, buried below ground. In fact, most people who live near them never even know they're there. So it's a great system. It's transported basically because we compress the gas and push it by pressure to these other ends where it's being used, if it's in Eastern Virginia or even out of the state, some of the gas may be that way. So how can we better utilize this resource in Southwest Virginia? I think continuing to do what we're doing right now is important. Continuing to apply technology to horizontal drilling, to develop the resource, to continue to provide jobs and provide a clean fossil fuel for Southwest Virginia is really important. On the consumption side, in Southwest Virginia, we don't have a huge population base, and so how can we consume more of this gas that we produce here in Virginia? Well, certainly one of the things is you saw that a large portion of the gas we use is industrial based. We could bring industry to Southwest Virginia, and that's being done, and some great efforts have been done with CGI and Northrop Grumman and facilities like that. So attracting business is certainly one way. Gas-fired electrical generation, I think, would be another way. A 700 megawatt facility that was gas-fired could pretty much supply all of the electrical needs in this area and bring down to the Southwest. So pretty impressive. And then